4, reproduction, and the topic is numbered 4.7, plant reproduction. Okay, the subtopic I'm going to discuss further in this video is about the structure and the function in plants, and also pollination process. All plants with flowers are reproducing sexually. It means they have the female and the male parts of the flower. So these reproductive organs in the male and the female are producing the reproductive cells called gametes. The reproductive organs of a flowering plant is the flower itself. The male parts of the flower is called stamen, while the female parts of the flower is called pistil. In the male parts, or we call it stamen, it has two specific parts. The first is called anther and the second is called filament. In the female parts of a flower, or we call it pistil, it has three main parts. The first part is called stigma, the second is style, and the third part is called ovary. In addition to that, it has ovule inside the ovary. Other than the male and the female parts, a flower also has additional parts that also play an important role. The additional parts are the petals and sepal. The function of an anther is to produce male gametes, to store them and release them when it is matured. And filament is a stalk-like structure that holds the anther in the flower. Stigma is the landing zone for the male gamete or the pollen. Stigma itself plays a very important role in the flowering plant reproduction. Stigma covers with hairs or flaps or others to increase their ability to trap pollens. Most stigma are covered with a waxy and sticky substance on the surface. The function of style, it's a stalk-like structure that holds the stigma. It connects the stigma to the ovary parts of the flower. It provides the medium for the pollen tubes to grow and for the sperm from the pollen to travel inside the tube to get to the ovule inside the ovary of the plants. The function of ovary is a place to produce the female gamete of the plants, or we call it ovule. Ovary is the structure that will develop into a fruit after fertilization happens. Ovary also a structure that protects the seed inside the fruit. Ovule is the female gamete of a plant. The ovule will eventually develop into a seed inside the fruit after fertilization. Now let's talk about pollination. Pollination is a process of transferring a matured pollen from the anther to the stigma of the flower. It's a process that is responsible to open the door for the male gamete from the anther to meet the female gamete, the ovule, inside the ovary in a flower. There are two ways for pollination to happen. The first one is called self-pollination, and the second way is called cross-pollination. There are two possibilities for self-pollination to happen. The first one is the pollen from anther will travel to the stigma of different flower in the same plant, or the pollen will travel to the stigma of the same flower in the same plant. However, in cross-pollination, the pollen from anther from one plant will travel far to the other plant and stick to the stigma on that other plant. That is cross-pollination. So when we talk about pollination, there is one other aspect to be discussed about, which is called pollinating agent. So the role of a pollinating agent is to carry the pollen from anther to stigma of a flower. There are two types of pollinating agent. The first one is animal and insects, and the second one is wind. Example of pollinating agent from the category of insects or animals are hummingbirds, bees, and ants. These animals collect nectars from flower to flowers. It moves from one flower to another flower. While they are doing their work, the pollen grains will stick to their body, and when they reach to another flower, by any chance fall on the stigma of another flower, and that is how the pollination happens. And for the wind factor of pollination, so when the wind blows the pollen from the matured pollen from anther will fly in the air with the wind and land on stigma on any flowers. The advantage of cross-pollination is it combines the genetic materials from two different plants of the same species, and this will cause the new daughter plant to become a better quality plant. For example, it could have higher resistance towards pests and diseases. It could also become a healthier plant which can adapt to the changes in the environment. Also, when the cross-pollination happens, we could have variety of plants and also variety of good seeds. Now let's talk about agriculture industries from the advantage of cross-pollination. In Malaysia agriculture industry, we are producing better crops with higher quality products. For example, we are now having a hybrid types palm oil, Tenera. Tenera is a cross product from Piscifera and Dura palm oil species. These hybrid products could produce more fruit and flesh, and it also has thinner shell. The next one, we also have hybrid papaya exotica. It is the crossbreed between Subang 6 and Sunrise Solo papaya. This hybrid papaya plant has sweeter fruit and more flesh. The next one, we have hybrid corn plant, Mas Madu. It is crossbreed between Mexico and Taiwan sweet corn. This hybrid corn plant has a sweeter and bigger fruit. It also has higher resistance toward diseases and drought. The next one is Malinja, the hybrid paddy plant. It is the crossbreed between Siam 29 and Pear Bee Fan. This hybrid paddy plant can be harvested more than one time a year. Besides that, the paddy also ripe faster. That is all about plant reproductive parts and pollination for this video. I hope you can understand my explanation, and take care. Hashtag stay home, stay safe, study at home. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi, and have a nice day.